Okay. Thanks, everyone, for coming today. I would like to brief you on the officer-involved shooting incident that occurred on January 13th, 2020. Our detectives, Jeff Edmondson and Sean Stevens, worked diligently throughout the week in order to gather and provide the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office with evidence regarding this incident. On January 21st, 2020, the Highland Police Department, working with the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office, has issued an affidavit in support of prosecutor's complaint and arrest warrant for Noah Lennon. The following warrants were issued: tampering with evidence, a felony of the 3rd degree; inducing panic, a felony of the 5th degree; disrupting public services, a felony of the 4th degree; and falsification, which is a misdemeanor of the 1st degree. Noah Lennon turned himself in at the Highland Police Department last evening and was transported to the Trumbull County Jail. I would personally like to thank all of the law enforcement agencies that assisted our department that evening, including local, state, and federal. At this time, Noah Lennon, as with any criminal proceeding, is innocent until proven guilty. That being said, I'm going to read a quick excerpt from the affidavit that was filed with the prosecutor's office yesterday. On or about Monday, January 13th, 2020, at 5:32 p.m., officers with the Howland Township Police Department were emergency dispatched to the area of Pine Avenue, south of Burton Street in Howland Township, for a report of a robbery attempt involving an off-duty warrant police officer. Howland officers were informed that Officer Noah Lennon with the Warren City Police Department was off-duty in his private vehicle when he saw a black full-sized SUV sport utility vehicle which appeared to be broken down on Pine Avenue. Lennon advised that he stopped to render aid, at which time a black male suspect approached the vehicle and produced a silver revolver with a black handle. The suspect male asked Lennon if he was a police officer. Lennon replied in the affirmative. The suspect then asked Lennon if he had a gun in the car. Lennon advised that he did. The suspect then demanded that Lennon give him the gun. Lennon complied and handed over his backup weapon. The suspect then demanded that Lennon give him his money. Lennon threw his badge out of his car window. When the badge hit the ground, it appeared to distract the suspect, at which time Lennon drew his service pistol and fired one round at the suspect through the door. Lennon advised that the suspect then fired Lennon's backup gun, firing one round, striking Lennon in the right shoulder area. Lennon then fired 2 more rounds at the suspect. The suspect then fired an additional round from Lennon's backup gun at Lennon as the suspect ran away. Lennon then advised that the suspect ran to the black SUV and drove away southbound on Pine Avenue Street towards Niles. Lennon briefly pursued the vehicle, but ultimately pulled over because he did not know the extent of his injuries. Lennon then used his portable police radio to report that there were shots fired and that he was shot to a dispatcher. The dispatcher then put the emergency call out over the police radio, and approximately 45 officers from at least 10 different agencies responded to the area to assist Lennon and search for the suspect vehicle. Our detectives initially came out and did a sweep of the area with responding agencies to make sure that this suspect in question did not get away that night. We had numerous officers on scene, and there were numerous traffic stops made on large black SUVs that evening. The following day, or I want to say 2 days after that, we were able to actually interview Noah Lennon. During the interview process, the expert that I read off from the affidavit, this is the story that our detectives were given. Detective Stevens and Detective Edmondson, at that point, went up to the Pine Avenue area, and they scoured the area looking for surveillance cameras anywhere in that area that would cover ingress and egress. They were able to locate 4 different cameras at different locations, which did cover those areas. After reviewing the camera footage, it was determined by our detectives that no vehicle matching that description that was given by Noah Lennon ever entered or left that area. Detective Stevens and Detective Edmondson brought Noah Lennon back to our department for questioning a second time. When he was confronted with this information, Noah then began to backpedal and changed his story. Noah then stated the suspect was a black male who was riding a bicycle. He said after the shots were exchanged, the black male fled into a wooded area. Once again, our detectives confronted Noah Lennon and were concerned at the fact that the evidence just it wasn't making sense because at the crime scene, there was no bicycle recovered. Noah Lennon then changed his story and stated that it was just a black male on foot that he exchanged gunfire with who attempted to rob him at gunpoint. Once again, our detectives confronted Noah and advised him that they've already spoken with several witnesses in the area and also have surveillance video from that area that does not show any person or persons on foot in that area at that time. Noah changed his story for the last time that we have documented, and that is that he was traveling southbound on Pine Avenue into the city of Niles. When he pulled his vehicle over in order to get on his cell phone to pull up directions on MapQuest to find a location that he was headed to in Austintown. When he was pulled off to the side of the roadway, he observed a vehicle heading towards him, and all he could see was headlights. He stated that this vehicle went left to center and almost struck his vehicle head on. Noah stated that this infuriated him, and he pulled his firearm and shot 3 rounds through the driver's side door of his vehicle. Noah stated after those 3 rounds were fired, he was in shock, and he couldn't believe that he actually used his service weapon to fire those 3 rounds through his door, and he panicked. He stated he then retrieved his personal firearm from his center console, and he fired 2 rounds himself into the passenger seat in his own vehicle. He stated that he then discarded his gun, his personal gun, and his badge into the roadway because he stated he had to stage the scene because he was fearful of what would happen if it got back to his supervisors that he had fired his duty weapon off duty and out of his jurisdiction. With that information in hand, our detectives went to the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office and they filed for the prosecutor's warrant for Noah's arrest. And he is currently incarcerated in the Trumbull County Jail.
Is there any evidence to indicate that his last story is actually true because he changed it so many times?
We're still working on that. We still have some follow-up to do, but according to what he told us, that gave us enough probable cause to make that arrest.
As a police officer, when someone with a badge that you entrust to tell the truth changes the story and fabricates something like this to this extent, where there was a lot of resources used, where there was people being stopped and pulled over, how disheartening is that?
It's very disheartening. We all take an oath to serve and protect the citizens of our communities, and it's disheartening every once in a while where you'll get a rogue police officer who makes a poor decision and just tarnishes law enforcement in general.
Warren has just come out of this whole thing with the Justice Department, and race was a very volatile issue there. And, you know, whether he meant to or not, I mean, to bring up the issue of a black male, how does that go over when you hear somebody blame a black male and then you guys end up having to stop people based on his description?
Correct. Once again, that's very disheartening. I've worked in law enforcement over 20 years, and I've worked with the Warren Police Department. I respect their chief, Eric Merkel. I respect Mayor Franklin, and I know that they just came through some tough times involving race-related issues. And at this point, it seems that they're over and above that. I mean, they're more willing to go out there and work with their community now and form partnerships, and they're on the right path. And I respect all of I know a lot of their officers personally, and I hate to keep using the term disheartening, but yeah, every once in a while you're going to have an incident where you have a rogue officer who makes some poor decisions, and it just tarnishes everyone.
And also, I mean, officers are given, aren't they tested, I mean, for like mental testing? I mean,
Yes.
it seems something's a little off there to make up something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on Noah's background, the hiring practices that Warren City does when they hire a new officer, but I can tell you from a Howland standpoint that we put our officers through a rigorous background investigation, and we do a psychological, and we do drug testing, and it's pretty in-depth. I'm quite sure Warren City is held to the same standards as we are.
Do you know, there was some talk that he had had a rough day, that there had been a breakup with a girlfriend, people had spotted him earlier that day, he had been very visibly upset about that. Do you think any of that played a role in?
I'm not familiar with that scenario. There's a possibility. I mean, I can't tell you what his mindset or state of mind was that day. I have no idea.
Do you have, from the number of officers you said that responded, do you have any idea how much money was used as far as services that you guys put into it? I know you don't, when something like this happens, I mean, you guys go full on and don't
Correct.
think about that, but now that you believe that this was all just false, do you know how much money was used?
Yeah, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to put a dollar amount on it, and we're going to speak with the prosecutor's office, and maybe there would be some type of restitution involved.
And is it true that an officer or BCI was pulled from a scene where a child was found dead in another county?
I didn't hear anything about that.
Okay.
No, I know there were several agencies involved. Like the affidavit says, there was over 10 agencies involved. In our department alone, there was 10 officers on scene. We actually had to call guys in for overtime to actually cover the road for us that evening. There was the FBI task force was out there that assisted with us, and the Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation also assisted with us. So there were numerous resources involved in this investigation.
And what do you say to the citizens, that you had to stop or search their places or whatever?
At that point in time, the information that we were given at that time of call, we're looking to find a black, large SUV with a male black suspect driver that had just fled the area. And with the amount of officers that flooded that area during that given time, there were plenty of vehicles that were stopped. And, at this point, hindsight, I apologize for the inconvenience that we may have caused any of the citizens of Warren City or Howland Township, or just someone happened to be traveling through this area from a different jurisdiction. I apologize for your inconvenience.
Did you have, or any of you guys have any feeling something didn't seem right about the fact that the descriptions seemed like off for a police officer not to have been as particular with the description, or that the story didn't seem?
Not at the initial time, because anytime an officer is involved in a shooting, there's some psychological effects that take place, and everyone handles those situations differently. Yeah, not initially, but as we got deeper into the investigation and the interviews, and we realized that vehicle did not exist that he described, then that raised our suspicions.
At what point of the investigation, was it the day after, did you start to question his credibility?
We actually started to question his credibility once we weren't able to locate a vehicle that he described to us in any surveillance videos.
So was that the next day?
It was 2 days after
Okay.
the initial incident.
And for a young officer, he's only been doing this 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to have been well-liked by the police department.
Yes.
He was moving up, from what I understand, and now he's charged with felonies. Will he ever be able to work as a police officer again if he's convicted of these crimes?
I can't respond to that. I'll leave all that to Chief Merkel from the Warren Police Department to comment on Noah's behalf.
I guess how frustrating is it, though, to have to investigate, one of your own, especially, and how does it, do you worry, that people start to paint everyone with the same broad brush when one person makes a mistake like this? Because, in every industry, there's always someone that is like a bad apple.
Yeah, like you said, it happens in every industry. And yes, unfortunately, we will be painted with that broad brush. When that initially happened, we went out there, responded to the scene. We called BCI out, and we had several agencies helping us with this investigation. And being that it was a law enforcement officer involved, sure, it gets law enforcement excited about it, and they want to catch the bad guy as quickly as they can, because we don't know if we have someone out there that wants to harm law enforcement, or if we just have someone out there who doesn't care who passes by, and they're gonna rob whoever they want, you know, on a somewhat deserted roadway. But it gets to the point where you have to handle this investigation like you would handle any other investigation, like you would treat any other victim that was a victim of a crime. Everybody good? All right. Thank you.